Okay. Hello everybody. The last video got cut off and I started talking in the video and then I realized for some reason the video just stopped. So my bad. I was just saying how, okay, we're gonna create this C, right? We're gonna create this universe, and how do we do that? And it's with one or two questions. So here, let's look at this. How does multiplying a number by -1 rotate 180 degrees on a point? Now, when you read this, this may look like gibberish, but let's think about it. Let's say we pick one of our positive numbers here, right? And let's say we pick 3, right? If I say we have the number 3 and we multiply it by -1, what do we get? We get -3, right? 3 times -1 is -3. So let's say we're at 3 and I multiply by -1. Where do we go to? We go to -3. So the way it goes is you are doing a 180-degree rotation to -3. That's what's happening. You never really realize it, you don't really think about it, but that's what's happening. When you go from 3 to -3, you're making this 180-degree rotation. But let's say if you go from, how do you go from -3 back to 3? What do? You do -3 times -1. I'm sorry, whoops. -3 times -1, and that's equal to what? That's equal to 3. So here, it's just this, right? And if you're thinking, okay, so what? Who cares? Like, if I just tell you that if you take a number and you multiply it by -1, if you take a number multiplied by -1, it rotates it 180 degrees. It rotates it 180 degrees. But the next question we have to ask ourselves is, here, let's say, let me get the camera angle better, my bad. Okay, this is here, this is here. Okay, this is a little better. Okay, now let's say, this is probably the most interesting question, important question of the lesson here is, here we showed what it means. What does it mean to go 180 degrees? You multiply by -1. But my question for you is there a number where we can multiply that rotates 90 degrees? So instead of going here, this is 180 degrees. Instead of going 180 degrees, 90 degrees is somewhere here. This is 90 degrees. And the question is, what number can we multiply that gets us here? And this is creating the universe, okay? Hold on one second. Back. So here, the game plan again was, what does it mean to rotate 90 degrees? So not go all the way to 180, but just right here. And here, we're just gonna create this line, right? And we're just gonna say that when I rotate 90 degrees, like if I multiply 3 by some number, and that sound is the bell because it's 8:15 in the morning. So here, if I have 2, what number can I multiply it to get here? And here, we're just gonna write some question mark. I don't know what it is, okay? It gets to that number. So let's kind of create this. So let me go back to the notes, and it should look something like this. So here, as you can tell, this will be the line. Now here, let's go back. How should we label the vertical axis? It'll be something like this, okay? So what I'd like you to do is have this in your notes, and then we'll have this down. So the way to rotate 90 degrees is to multiply by I. Okay, let's imagine that this is some number I, and we don't know what it is yet, but we're going to multiply this number to this to get there. Okay, so if you multiply 1 times I, it rotates 90 degrees. If I multiply 2 times I, it rotates 90 degrees. If I multiply 3 times I, it goes 90 degrees. And here, if I say, what's 1 times I, that's just 1I. If I say, what is 2 times I, that is 2I. and the same thing goes. And think about it over here, that if you have minus 1 times I, this is equal to minus I, minus 2I, minus 3I, okay? And let's call this line the imaginary line, and this is your real number line. Okie dokie. That this is the imaginary line. We're going to have I, 2I, 3I, negative I, negative 2I, negative 3I. So this is what happens when you, this is the number that rotates at 90 degrees. Okie dokie. And we're almost done with the lesson. It's very short. And the next question is, what if we multiply a point on the vertical line? Oh, whoops, sorry. Here, if we have, what happens if we multiply a point on the vertical line? Like imagine if your I, like here we went from, let's say if we went from, let me go back to it. Here, if we to go 90 degrees, we multiply by I. So 90 degrees goes to 2I. But what happens if you want to go from, what if you want to go from 2I to negative 2? You just multiply 2I by I, and you get back to negative 2. 3I times 3, so 3I times 3, this is equal to negative 3. It brings you to negative 3. If I have 2I times I, because I rotates 90 degrees, this is minus 2. Okay? So this is what happens. You see, it'll shift this way. Okay? And notice that when we perform two 90-degree rotations, it is the same as a 180-degree rotation, right? Let's think about this for a second. When we had our original, right? When we get back here, if you went from 2 to negative 2, how do you go from 2 to negative 2? This 180-degree rotation, you multiply by minus 1. But notice that if you multiply by 2 times I, this is 90, plus another 90, this is I times I. I times I gives you 180-degree rotation. And if I times I gives you 180-degree rotation, and 180-degree rotation is the same as minus 1, as multiplying by minus 1, you can say that multiplying I twice, if I do I times I, it has to be the same as minus 1. So that means if I have I times I, whatever it is, I squared is equal to minus 1. And let's say if you just have this, and I say solve for I squared, what do you do? I'm sorry, if I say solve for I, you divide by, you square root, and now you have I is equal to minus 1. Okie dokie. I'll see you in class.